All right. Bryan Edwards, MajorWager.com, coming to you at about 5:40 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday to get you updated on college football injuries for Week 8. First of all, South Carolina's Ryan Hilinski practiced earlier today. He is good to go despite spraining that knee that kept him out of the second half game, or the second half of South Carolina's win between the hedges on Saturday. Upgraded to probable, although Bryan Mama Can't Spell Edwards, the stud wide receiver, who is now third all-time in career receiving yards in South Carolina football history, and closing in rapidly on Alshon Jeffrey's all-time career mark. He is questionable, but he got dinged up a couple times against the Pups the other day, and he came back both times. I think he's probably going to be good to go. On the flip side, for my Gators, not looking good for Jonathan Greenard and Jabari Zuniga, perhaps the two best pass rushers in the SEC, and certainly Greenard. His absence was more than telling the other night as LSU's offense blitzed a Florida defense that was just so nasty the week before. Granted, obviously Joe Burrow's a senior and Bo Nix is a freshman, and those were different deals. But and LSU won fair and square. Now, the push on Florida was brutal. I mean, brutal push. The only 14 point, the only lead more than 7 that LSU had the whole game, and Florida goes down on 4th and goal. Mullen called a great play calling. He was on fire for 3 quarters. What happened to him in the 4th? I don't know. I do not know. But that's my coach. I'm good. We're good. But Jabari and Greenard might not be good for Saturday, and that's not good. They're both going to be game time decisions. Look, first 6 games are really just 5 games. He left the first series for LSU. I don't think he came back. He might have gone back in and tried to play a play or two subsequently first quarter. I don't think he did. I didn't see him. But yeah, Greenard and Zuniga ankles. Zuniga did play sparingly and did not look himself at all. I just don't think that ankle is 100%. And, regardless win or lose, I mean, if they're ready, they're ready. But I think that Mullen is one of those guys. Florida's got an open date next, and then Georgia. I think he wants them to rest those ankles and be ready to go for Georgia, because with Georgia losing, now look, for the college football playoff, Georgia and Florida have to win out. Okay, that's established, but it's very possible that a 2-loss SEC East team could make it to Atlanta. And it's still early now. Much stranger things have happened. Okay, much stranger things have happened in terms of a 2-loss team. Hell, a 2-loss LSU team in 2007 got to the BCS championship game and won it all, and that was a 2-team playoff, and it's 4 now. So nothing is impossible, but it would need a lot of help. But my point being, even if Florida loses to South Carolina, which is very much a possibility this weekend, even if that were to happen, Florida could still win the East. In fact, I would, they still beat Georgia. Now, Florida's still got to go to Missouri. Georgia's still got to go to Auburn. Georgia gets Missouri in Athens, but Missouri's got 2 weeks to prepare for that game. Georgia's still got to play A&M. I think A&M might have 2 weeks to. Georgia's still got a lot of potential L's out there. I think A&M even gets 2 weeks before they play. No, it's Auburn and Missouri that get 2 weeks. I knew it was 3 teams in a row, but the Florida getting 2 weeks is a wash because Georgia's off as well. But yeah, Georgia, I mean, after they host Kentucky this week, Georgia Then they have Florida and Jacksonville. They have Missouri at home, but Missouri gets 2 weeks to prep, and Georgia doesn't, and is in a letdown mode coming off playing Florida. And then Georgia plays at Auburn, and Auburn's got 2 weeks, and Georgia does not. So, yeah, a 2L team could definitely win the SEC. And yet, I guess Missouri is on top of the SEC East for now. Okay, anyway, Greenard so pretty much in 5 games, Greenard had 28 tackles, 7 QB hurries, 4 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. All right, moving on. Stanford and UCLA on the farm Thursday night. Both teams coming off open dates. KJ Costello is out. KJ's nightmare campaign continues. The second team All Pac-12 selection last year when he threw for 3,540 yards, 29-11 TDI-INT ratio. Of course, he had my guy Caden Smith. He had J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He had Trenton Irwin as well. Those guys are all long gone. He had the concussion on that cheap shot late in the first half on one of the baddest beats ever. 2 of my all-time bad beats on Northwestern. That game, he gets a concussion. He misses the USC game, comes back for UCF, comes back the next week for the Oregon game, but then gets a thumb injury. He's missed back-to-back games, but Davis Mills has played well in those games. A win against Oregon State and a win against Washington for the Cardinal. But even Davis Mills is questionable against the Bruins, and DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson for UCLA, he is also questionable. If Mills can't go, it'll probably be redshirt freshman Jack West at QB for Stanford. Mills is completing 64.5% of his passes, 890 yards, 5-1 TDI-INT ratio, and he's got an 8-yard touchdown reception off a trick play. Now, West redshirted last year. Obviously, you can play 4 games. I don't know how many games he played. I just know he 1 of 5 passing attempts for only 4 yards in 2018. Tough break for the Fighting Adagios in Boston College. Anthony Brown is out for the season with a lower leg injury. He was playing well, 9-2 TDI-INT ratio. His 155.52 QB rating was the 3rd best in the ACC. But the Eagles, who are 3-3 straight up and 4-2 against the spread, will be without him the rest of the way, and they will be going with redshirt sophomore quarterback Dennis Grossel. I guess I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. They host NC State at Alumni Stadium on Saturday. Please forgive. I can't believe I didn't turn my ringer off because it's upstairs in my office. But anyway, so yeah, that's the deal. No more Anthony Brown for the BC Eagles, which is not good for them. One of the tougher injuries to see this past Friday night, as Miami beat Virginia 17-9. Bryce Hall, you love it when guys come back for their senior year, even when they're projected first-round picks like he was. But he, I don't know if it was an ankle break. I don't think they ever even showed the replay on ESPN, not that I cared to watch it anyway. But, they had an air cast on it. I think it's a broken ankle. And they made it official yesterday. Done for the year. Second-team All-American last season when he had 62 tackles, 2 sacks, 1.5 TFLs. So far this year, Hall had 20 tackles, 4 passes broken up, 2 TFLs, 1 sack. Baylor, crushing injury for the unbeaten Bears. Clay Johnston, their leading tackler this year and last year, second-team All-Big 12 selection last season when he had a team-best 99 tackles. Already had 58 so far this year, along with 5.5 TFLs, 5 passes broken up, 2.5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 QB hurry. Johnston done for the season and his collegiate career. Unfortunate for him, especially because they'd had lean years post-Briles. They're undefeated now, 5th-year senior, and he goes down. You just hate to see that. That really sucks. USC's leading rusher, I know I'm not pronouncing it right, Vave A. Maliepe. He had knee surgery. Or I'm sorry, he's having knee surgery at some point this week. Maybe it was today. Out indefinitely. Junior running back, 406 rushing yards so far, team best, 4 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry. He's going to be out for a month or so. LSU wide receiver Terrace Marshall injured that foot September 21st at Vandy. Has made a speedy recovery. They thought for a minute maybe he could even play last week against the Gators when he did some light practice work on Monday. But he's already been ruled out at Mississippi State at oh gosh, I was about to say Kyle Field. That's College Station. Scott Field in Starkville. Sorry, he's already been ruled out. You know, they get the open date, and then Bama. Or wait, hold on, Bama LSU isn't that close, is it? Yeah, no. It's not till the 9th. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they get Auburn at home. That's when they want Terrace Marshall back. Because he was killing it in the first 4 games. 20 catches, 304 yards, and 6 touchdowns. All right, Texas's defense has had all kinds of injuries and more on the list this week. 2 more starters, senior linebacker Jeffrey McCullough and junior safety Chris Brown. Brown fractured forearm, out 6 weeks, already had surgery yesterday. McCullough out Saturday against Kansas, reevaluated on a weekly basis. Moving forward, he dislocated his shoulder against Oklahoma. Brown had 25 tackles, 3 TFLs, 2 passes broken up, 1 interception so far this year. Oregon leader in receiving yards, tight end Jacob Breland, also out for the season. He had 26 catches, 405 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns, but he is done for the year. Purdue's Jeff Brom told the media yesterday, not real optimistic about Rondale Moore's chances this week at Iowa. Boilermakers, even with all the injuries, nice win, smashing Maryland 40-14 last week. And but Rondale probably not going to be a go in Iowa City. Hawkeyes favored by 18. Rondale, of course, was a true freshman last year, first-team All-American. All right, Illinois quarterback Brandon Peters had been playing well, 10-4 TDI and T ratio. Goes down a couple weeks ago with a concussion in that 40-17 loss at Minnesota. Could not go last week against his former team, Michigan. He, again, is questionable. It'll be redshirt freshman Matt Robinson starting for the Illini versus Wisconsin if Peters cannot go. North Texas senior QB Mason Fine, all-time leader in career passing yards coming into this season. He's going to be okay. Hurt his shoulder last week, but already upgraded to probable Saturday versus Middle Tennessee. Mason Fine, 14-4 TDI and T ratio on the year. Oklahoma tight end Grant Calcaterra, first team All Big 12 last year. Not playing as well this year, only 5 catches for 79 yards in the first 5 games. Did not play last week, and Lincoln Riley has said that he is out again this week and has refused to give the media any details on his injury. In Oklahoma is going to host West Virginia, and like Brandon Peters for Illinois not playing against his former team, Michigan, last week, it's looking like Austin Kendall might miss the game against his former team, OU, as he is questionable with a chest injury. If he can't go, it'll be junior quarterback Jack Allison, who does have some experience and actually played pretty well in relief of Kendall last week. 18-24, 140 yards, had 1 touchdown pass. He did have 1 pick as well. Maryland, all sorts of injuries. QB Josh Jackson, questionable, along with 4 other key contributors. Former Knoll DB Marcus Lewis, offensive tackle Marcus Minor with a turf toe, wide receiver DJ Turner suspension, center Johnny Jordan. All those guys are questionable. and probably their best O-lineman, Terrence Davis, was lost indefinitely a couple weeks ago. And last week, wide receiver Darryl Jones, a calf injury, going to keep him out indefinitely. Wake hosts the Noles. Since the first time the Semis joined the ACC, they are an underdog to Wake. In fact, Wake has only been an underdog of less than a touchdown twice to FSU since the Semis joined the ACC. Wake won both of those outright during the iconic Riley Skinner era, and they gave out a 30 bagel at the Toilet Bowl, aka Zook Field, one night. All right, so Wake, Jamie Newman, their quarterback, shoulder injury last week, had to leave the game against Louisville. By the way, Wake Forest's first loss of the year. He's questionable this week, but look, Wake's got one of the better backups in the country in Sam Hartman, who has a true freshman last year, threw for 1,984 yards, 16-8 TDI-INT ratio, and before subtracting sack yardage, he had also run for 439 yards and 2 touchdowns last year. He had not played this year until last week. I think they were, and maybe still could redshirt him, but he came in the fourth quarter, 9 of 15, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a rushing touchdown, and nearly led a remarkable comeback win. FSU, they lost one of their better receivers, Keyshawn Helton, out for the season. Injury against Clemson. He had 17 catches, 239 yards, and 3 touchdowns before going down with the injury. Georgia starting offensive guard Justin Schaffer, neck injury. He started UGA's first 6 games. He's been ruled out against Kentucky this week. Lawrence Cager, one of the better receivers for Georgia, he is doubtful. He has 19 receptions and 3 touchdown grabs and 245 receiving yards. Arkansas linebacker Devone McClure has left the team for family reasons, supposedly. Boise State true freshman Hank Bachmeier, questionable with a hip injury at BYU this week. But in his absence, in last week's 59-37 win over the Nick Roloviches, Cole McDonald, JoJo Ward, Cedric Bird, all those guys. Marquise Stovall. Boy, they scored a lot of points on Boise's D, but predictably they couldn't stop Boise State because Chase Cord played great in relief of Bachmeier, 12 of 18, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns without a pick. And remember, BYU lost Zach Wilson for 6 to 8 weeks with a thumb injury. And their backup, Jaron Hall, gets hurt last week, and now he's questionable in this game. So BYU could be down to a third-string quarterback, and that would be Baylor Romney. If so, Toledo quarterback Mitchell Guadagni, questionable at Ball State, 8-2 TDI-INT ratio on the season. And UTSA starting QB Frank Harris is out for the season. All right, you're updated. Week 8 injuries, lots of them. Bryan Edwards, MajorWager.com. Thanks for joining us. Over and out.